Octagon shirt crochet tutorial. Let's go. In reality, you will need a crochet hook of 6mm and a yarn that recommends 4mm. I will let you pause the video to screen capture the chart or to note the information you need. The written pattern explains how to use any crochet size you want. I'm gonna make a tiny size for this tutorial. So I'm using a crochet hook of 3mm and a very thin cotton yarn. Let's begin with a slip knot. I show it slowly and try to reproduce everything I do. Or you can use another technique if you already have one. Make chain 2. And I'm going to single crochet 1 in the first stitch, meaning the second stitch from the hook. Then chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and single crochet again in the second stitch from the hook. I'm going to repeat the operation, so chain 3 and single crochet in the second stitch from the hook. And repeat that until you reach the number of single crochet in the third column of the chart, including the very first one. So here I have 1, 2, 3. For size S, you need to have 14, for example. Now we are going to make a granny rectangle, not a granny square, but it has the same concept. So we are going to crochet around this foundation chain, and we begin with chain 3. That count is the first double crochet. Then double crochet in the stitch of the last single crochet. And another double crochet in the same stitch. And now we have 3 double crochets in the same stitch, which is our first granny stitch. Chain 1, and I'm going to make another cluster of 3 double crochets in the same stitch. 1, 2, and 3. So by definition, this is a granny stitch, a cluster of 3 double crochets crocheted in the same space or in the same stitch. So here we've made a corner because there is a chain 1 between 2 granny stitches, and you can see the angle. And I'm going to put a granny stitch in the next single crochet stitch. I'm struggling because my crochet is very sharp. Keep on granny stitch along the single crochet chain until you reach the very last here. I've reached the end, and here I'm going to make 2 corners to make the rectangle. So to make a corner, I chain 1, and I'm going to add a granny stitch in the same stitch. So 1, 2, 3 double crochets, first corner, chain 1, and granny stitch still in the same stitch. 1, 2, and 3. So here we have 2 corners, and you can recognize a corner by the presence of the chain 1. So there is a chain 1 between 2 granny stitches when we make the corner. Next one is not a corner, so I'm putting a granny stitch in the same stitch as the opposite side. to turn around the foundation chain. I'll let you granny stitch along the bottom of the chain and make it symmetrical compared with the one across. And we meet here. Here we are at the first end. We already have one corner here, so we're going to complete the second corner by putting a granny stitch in the first stitch. 1, 2, and 3. To close the row, there is supposed to be a chain here to complete the row. In logic, there's supposed to be a chain 1, then a slip stitch to close the row. But we want our hook to be in the middle of the corner. So instead, I'm gonna make a single crochet on top of the chain of 3 of the beginning of the row. I insert the hook on top, then single crochet. And here the hook is in the middle of the corner, placed efficiently to begin the next row. But as I'm going to change color, I undo my last loop and cut it short. There are several techniques to change the color, but I usually use this one. Hold both strands like this, then wrap the new yarn around the left thumb and the strands. Wrap it twice. After that, pass the yarn between the thumb and the strands. Then fold the strands and pass them through the loops. Hold them with the left thumb and pull the new yarn, making sure the little bump at the folded part is well strangled. It shouldn't come loose this way. And then we're going to continue crocheting. So here is the single crochet to close the row. And here I am in the middle of the corner. For the next row, I begin with a chain of 3, counting as the first double crochet. Then in the space just beneath the single crochet, meaning the first corner space, add 2 other double crochets to make a granny stitch. Coming up next is a corner space. So I'm going to make a granny stitch, chain 1, and a second granny stitch. And that's it. I made my corner. The next space is a regular space, so I'm just going to crochet a granny stitch. And that will be the principle throughout the whole work. In a corner space, crochet a corner, meaning granny stitch, chain 1, granny stitch. And in a regular space, crochet a granny stitch without anything else. No chain, nothing. And all here are regular spaces. Here is a corner space, then crochet a corner, and so on. And see you at the end of the row. At the end of the row, we're going to complete the first corner. As we already have one granny stitch inside it, in there, we're just going to add the second one. And like in the previous row, we are going to close it with a single crochet on top of the first double crochet. and we end up being at the tip of the corner. This way, the beginning and the end of each row will always be on the same corner. And we're passing to another row, following the exact same principle. Make the first half of the first corner with a granny stitch in that corner space. Granny stitch if it's a regular space, that is the case here. And if it's a corner space, we're going to make a corner with a granny stitch, chain 1 granny stitch. Then add rows until you reach a number of rows equal to the number in the fourth column of the chart. And as you already know the total number of rows you are going to make, you can distribute the colors you want between those rows, according to your likings and your taste. So I finished my first rectangle and that changed color. So now I'm going to add the corners to transform this into an octagon. I'm going to crochet the first side just as usual until I reach the second corner. So I made the second corner, but I need more. I need to have 3 corners in this corner space. So I'm going to chain 1 and granny stitch. Here I have 2 corners. Again, chain 1 and granny stitch. And there I have 3 corners. So 1, 2, and 3. And I continue as usual. And we are going to do the exact same thing, meaning putting 3 corners here in this corner space. And finish the row just as usual. And this is the first octagon row with 8 corners. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And the construction of the next rows follows the exact same principle as usual, meaning granny stitch in regular spaces and granny stitch, chain 1, granny stitch in corner spaces, and so on. Add as many rows as necessary until you reach the number in the column number 5 minus 1, because we're going to assemble during the last row. For this tiny version, I only made 3 octagon rows, but if, for example, you made the size S, you should now have 22 rows in total and assemble on 23rd row. To assemble the work, we are going to crochet the 3 first sides as usual. We are not going to finish this corner and put there just 1 granny stitch. So 1, 2, 3. So here I made the first granny stitch of the 4th corner. 1, 2, 3, 4th corner. And here I'm going to fold the last side that I made to make the opening of the sleeve. I'm going to make a slip stitch in the corner space on the opposite side, meaning the 3rd corner. It is connected now. I forgot to show how it looks like now, and I believe your shirt is bigger than mine. So I'm going to complete my corner with a granny stitch and beginning with a double crochet. Then I remove the hook from the loop. Then I insert it in the stitch of the double crochet at the exact opposite, the one coming after the corner space. Grab the loop, and then pull it through. And now my double crochet here is connected to this double crochet here. Second double crochet directly Then connect it to the next double crochet on the opposite side. Insert the hook, grab and pull through. And so on, third double crochet of my granny stitch. Release the loop, insert the hook, grab and pull through. And that's how we join the two sides together. So here I made the first granny stitch on the corner, then I keep on with the next space, first double crochet, release the loop, insert the hook, grab and pull through the loop you just released, and so on until you run out of double crochets to connect. On the side number 2, so you connect all of them until you reach this one here is the last one. Here I'm connecting the very last one. So here I finished the first sleeve and I keep on crocheting regularly until we finish the side number 6 and reach the corner number 7. And as before, in this corner number 7, we're just going to put one granny stitch. So crochet side number 4, number 5, and in corner space number 7, just put one granny stitch. And here, I guess you have guessed, hold the last side you crocheted and do the exact same thing as for the first sleeve. Slip stitch in the corner space. It's apparently harder than it seems like. Then double crochet and connect. And we keep on connecting double crochets until we finish the first granny stitch of the corner here. Here I finished connecting the first sleeve and continue as usual, chain 1 and the second granny stitch of the corner and just finish the last row normally. Don't worry, if you correctly follow the instruction, you wouldn't have this gap between the two front panels. I made this on purpose for my drama ship, as it has a big head. You can add any border you want, like single crochet border, but I'm stopping here. So I'm going to chain 1 to complete the space and slip stitch, because as I'm not going to add any rows anymore, I don't need to single crochet. My crochet hook is too pointy and too sharp. So I make 2 slip stitches to secure. Cut the yarn and leave a long tail. So you can weave it in with a yarn needle. Pull tight. And voila! You have your shirt. My sheep actually needed just one sleeve, as he was attacked by wolves. So the written pattern is available in the description, along with a lot of other useful links. Don't forget to subscribe, to share, to like, and to tag me on my social medias. Doesn't he look a little bit like a ninja now?